My name's Alice and I'm an addict. I got sober March 5th of 2014. After about a 20-year using career, I started when, I was like 12, and I only know how to tell my story one way. So when I was a little kid, my mom had several husbands. I don't know my real dad. He bounced when I was about 2 or 3. And her second husband was a real abusive gambler. And we bounced all over California, Oregon, New Mexico, Utah, Texas. When I say a bad gambler, I mean like he never won and he would end up owing people a lot of money. And so we would bounce in the middle of the night to kind of outrun his debts. I remember being 5 years old and like being held up at gunpoint while people were cleaning out our house, taking everything of value, and then we kind of packed up the rest in the station wagon and left. Because of that kind of childhood, I really struggled with making friends. Like, I just didn't have any stability, and because we were always moving, I just kind of didn't really see the point of it after a little while. I went to a different school every year, sometimes twice a year, all up through 7th grade. When I was 12, I went and I stayed with my grandfather for a summer and a half a school semester. I'm not really sure why, but I did. And while I was there, some abuse happened, and I'm the oldest of all the grandkids. I've got a pretty kind of large extended family, but I'm the oldest girl, and when that abuse happened, everybody was aware of it, and nobody wanted to talk about it or do anything about it. So we all just kind of pretended it didn't happen. And I came back home to Utah, and that's kind of where I call home. It's just the place that I've lived the longest over the years. Let's see, my mom's third husband, his name is John. Closest person in my life right now besides my kids. He's my stepdad, but he adopted me when I was like 12, maybe 13. He's been the only like real stable person in my life since that time. Let's see, because of the abuse that happened with my grandfather, I started smoking pot and, drinking. And I knew right from the get-go that I kind of had a problem because I didn't like the taste of alcohol, so I used a straw to suck it down faster so that I could get like a better, effect, right? Like, I like what it did to me, I just didn't like how it tasted. So anyways, that kind of just progressed. When I was 17, I got pregnant with my first kid, dropped out of high school. My mom tried to take my kid from me. She couldn't have kids anymore, and she saw me having a baby as like this answer to her like having that other kid, like that, like I could be a better mom and like a do-over basically. And I told her no, and my dad, my stepdad John, he supported me in that, and he was like, I'll help take care of you, but I'm not going to be a dad again. So I told my mom no, and she got real violent with me. She beat the shit out of me basically, and our relationship has just never been the same since. My mom, I should also say, addiction runs real heavy in my family. My mom's addicted to opiates and has been since I was about 15, 16. My sister's a recovering heroin addict, and my brother is still actively addicted to opiates and benzos. It just kind of runs in the family. It also is like on my grandfather's side and my aunt's side and all that stuff. Anyways, okay, so 17, had a baby, dropped out of high school. I also started doing a lot of LSD and shrooms because, well, it was the 90s and it was in. So that was fun while it lasted. I did some inhalants. That kind of scared me. And then, let's see, I met my first husband, and I say first because I've had a few. I met him at some dance club, and I remember we went to the liquor store or something, and I wasn't drinking really heavy hard alcohol at that point, but he told me to pick some alcohol out, and I picked out, what was it, like Tequila Rose, because it had a pretty flower on it, and it was stupid, but he was like, if you're gonna hang with me, you gotta drink like the big boys. So I got a bottle of Jack Daniels instead, and I was kind of off to the races. Within a year, he introduced me to cocaine, and I loved it. I fell in love with it real fast, and I didn't want to, I liked snorting it, but I liked smoking it more, so that led me to crack, of course. So that was, that just kind of continued for several years. I was with him for 13 years, and he was probably the most abusive mentally and emotionally person I've ever known in my entire life. Because of the drug use and because of just being with him, I kind of disappeared as a person. There was some suicide attempts. We moved to Las Vegas. I got completely cut off from my family, and I played a part in that, like I let it happen. We were together, like I said, for 13 years. While we were in Vegas, I got a couple of DV charges against him. We were all drinking one night, and he called me some names in front of some people, and I threw some fists, and I ended up in jail and got my first DV charge, domestic violence, for those that don't know. And about a year passed, the same thing happened, and I got a second DV charge. While I was in jail that second time, I was served with divorce papers and custody papers and a restraining order, and I ended up homeless in Vegas for the next year. This was in 2010, and I slept under bridges. I slept on Fremont Street. I bounced around all the shelters that were in Las Vegas, like I said, for about a year. And then I finally didn't know what else to do, so I called my dad in Salt Lake City and I asked if I could come home. And so I came home and I lived in the basement and started waitressing, and I lost all contact with my kids. I had a second child with my first husband, a daughter, and I would not see them for the next 3 years, not really. The only time I was allowed to see them was when he was present, providing supervision, and being around him was just too hard, so I just didn't. And the truth is, I didn't stay sober, and I started smoking a lot of meth while I was homeless, and slept in cemeteries, drank a lot of Four Locos, because it's like blackout in a can, and I didn't want to deal with my life, so that it let me not deal with my life. Once I got home, living in my dad's basement, I met my soon-to-be second husband, who was 20 years older than me. I got married to him within about a year because I needed someone to take care of me, and he needed someone to take care of. I told him right from the get-go that I was an alcoholic and that I liked doing drugs, and that he never got to have an opinion about it, and that if he ever tried to say anything about it, we'd be over. And he told me that he traveled for work and was gone 40 weeks a year, and I didn't get to have an opinion about that. And we were like this perfect match, because I got to drink and do whatever drugs I wanted without having a witness present. I didn't have anybody looking at me and judging me. So we got married in Vegas. He had taken me down to see my kids for a weekend, and we ended up just going to the Las Vegas wedding chapel and getting married there. And it was a train wreck, because I broke out in hives for a week afterwards, which should have been my first sign that something was wrong. But anyways, we came back to Utah. I ended up traveling with him for about a year, went all over the United States on his job. I wish I could say that I remember it, but I don't. I fell down a lot of stairs. I almost drowned in a pool. Cleaning staff would tell him, you need to get your wife help, because I was such a catastrophe. So after about a year, I went home, and I just didn't want to deal with him starting to look at me that way that family members look at us when it's like we're this bomb that's about to go off, and they just don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know how to deal with us, right? But they're so scared for us that they're afraid to breathe wrong on us. So I couldn't handle that anymore, and I went home and I sat on my couch for the next year, and I watched the world pass me by, and I just drank myself into oblivion. On March 4th of 2014, I don't really know what happened, but something happened. I woke up, and truth is, I hadn't bathed in weeks. I'd put on 50 pounds. I had no friends. I was just a disaster of a human being. I stumbled into my bathroom, and I almost did this weird faceplant thing, and I caught myself at the very last minute, and I saw myself for the first time in probably my entire adult life, and I hated it. I hated who I was. I hated what I represented. I hated what I had let myself become, and I didn't know what to do about it. I had heard of rehab, but I didn't think that was for me. I'm an alcoholic first and foremost, but once I'm drunk, I'm an equal opportunity drug user. I want all the drugs all the time until they're all gone. And that's just how I operate. And so I'd never really tried to get sober before. It was never an option for me. It was never a consideration. But My neighbor, this cute little old lady, she was like in her 70s. She lived across the street from me, and she told me one time, she was like, if you ever need help, come and see me. And I found out later she had just lost her son to cirrhosis of the liver, so she knew it was up with me. She knew it was going on. And so that morning, March 4th, I put on the cleanest dirty clothes I could find, and I brushed my teeth for like the first time in 2 weeks, and I stumbled my way across the street to her house, and I almost fell through her screen door. And in perfect grandma fashion, man, she like brought me inside, wrapped me in a blanket, and gave me a big ass cup of coffee and was like, drink this, you know? And she took my wallet and she started calling detox centers. And that night at like 8 o'clock, I was checked into my first detox, and I blew like a 0.27. My blood pressure was through the roof. They had me on like 15-minute like safety checks because they were afraid I was gonna stroke out. And I was in I was in detox, for 5 days. While I was there, I found out about treatment. And truth is, I didn't actually want to go. I thought that if I said I would go and then we couldn't like afford it, like if I picked a really expensive treatment center, we wouldn't be able to afford it, and then it would look like I tried, but I didn't actually have to do anything and I have to follow through. So I ended up in treatment 5 days later. My husband at the time, he made it happen. And he's a complete normie, so I guess that's what a good credit score gets you. But anyway, so I ended up in treatment 5 days later. Now, I had just shaved my head. I pulled like a full-on Britney Spears like right before I went into treatment, so that was super fun. But I show up in treatment and I have no idea what I'm doing there, and everybody is like, you know, telling me like you should get involved in meetings and you should do this and you should do that. And while I was there, they brought in 12-step meetings. And so I got introduced to AA, I got introduced to CA, I got introduced to NA, and honestly, I found my home in CA, which is Cocaine Anonymous. And it doesn't work for everybody, right? Like the 12 steps are not the answer for everyone, but they were the answer for me. I needed structure and I needed someone to tell me how to live my life and do it in this way, like through these steps. And for whatever reason, I was ready and willing to hear it. And I remember sitting in my very first CA meeting, this girl, she picked up her 1-year chip, and I had maybe 6 days sober at this point, and she was like glowing. She was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and I just didn't see how I would ever get to that, and I desperately wanted it, right? Like I hated everybody in those rooms so bad because they were all happy and laughing and hugging each other and smiling, and I wanted to be just like them, but I didn't know how. Like I didn't know how to make friends. I didn't know how to talk to people. Like I had been so cut off for so long that I was like really socially awkward. Like I didn't know what to do with my hands, you know? And like I didn't know how to like relate to people. And so I was told, get a sponsor and work the steps and go to these meetings and do this stuff and all this while I'm doing treatment, you know? And then I did 6 weeks of treatment, and honestly, it saved me. It was a combination of those two things. I needed treatment to get me straight. I needed treatment to clear my head and to help me like deal with the underlying issues that I'd been running away from and drinking and doing drugs for the last 20 years. And I did that, and I'm still in therapy today, and I think that everybody should have a freaking therapist. It's the thing that has saved my ass time after time after time, along with the 12 steps. But I got a sponsor, and here's the thing. I picked my sponsor because she had really cool hair, and I had no hair at the time because I had a shaved head, and I wanted somebody that like I wanted to be like, right? But it was more than the cool hair. It was like when she walked into this room, like people looked at her with respect, and they spoke to her with respect, and they treated her like with kindness and decency, and I didn't know what the hell that was like anymore. So anyways, I did what she told me, and I worked the steps, and that 4th step was a bitch, and I don't, the only people that bitch about it are the ones that haven't completed it. That allowed me to get through all of the bullshit that I had accumulated throughout my life and not be like held victim to it anymore. As I was able to like let it go and move on and make amends and do the right thing and start to live like a decent person with the structure of the 12 steps and this community of wonderful, crazy ass people growing up around me, right? Like I loved Cocaine Anonymous because my biggest fear of getting sober was that I was like never gonna have fun again, right? And Cocaine Anonymous showed me how to have fun. Those fuckers can party. Sorry. Anyways, they can party and they can have a good time, and they showed me how to show up in life again. And anyways, I got a year sober. And somehow I made it to that 1 year, and then I was like, okay, what do I do now? So I got really involved in service and giving back and showing up, and I started working in treatment, and I realized that that's really what I wanted to do, was work with others that were like me and figure out how to help them learn how to help themselves, because nobody else saved me. They just gave me the tools to figure out how to save myself. And I did that with treatment and with community and with, services that were provided through the 12 steps. And I decided at a couple of years sober that I wanted to go back to school. And it was the scariest thing I've ever done, right? But I did it. And last August, I graduated with honors from Salt Lake Community College with an Associates of Social Work. And I got accepted into the University of Utah. And I'm about to finish my first semester, and I'm still a straight A student up at the University of Utah, and that is some hard stuff. And I'm the first in my family to go to university. I'm the first in my family to get any kind of a degree from even a junior college. So I'm breaking generational trauma and generational patterns by just being sober and following through and actually doing one thing after another. The thing is, I didn't know what it was like growing up to have a community of people that I could relate to, that I could show up with and actually be part of, and recovery has given me that. Recovery has given me a trust in myself. It has shown me how to show up for other people and let them show up for me. At about 5 years sober, I realized that I wasn't in love with my second husband, and that just because he helped save me wasn't a good enough reason to stay married to him. So I asked him for a divorce, and I did it in a way that didn't destroy another person. We are actually still friends, so I was able to walk through a divorce with a little bit of grace and dignity intact, and not feel like I hurt somebody unnecessarily. And I am currently in a healthy relationship, probably the only real healthy relationship I've ever experienced in my life. And I don't know what that looks like 2 years from now or 5 years from now, but I know right now it's really good. And the truth is, I wouldn't be where I'm at if it weren't for the 12 steps. It showed me how to own my mistakes without letting them own me, and because of that, other people can't hold it against me. I can walk into a room and I know exactly who I am, and I'm not afraid of anybody anymore, and I'm not hiding or trying to be something that I think you think I should be. I'm just who I am. And if you don't like that, that's okay. Not everybody's gonna like me, but I think I'm pretty awesome, and it took me almost 40 years to figure out how to do that. So I don't have time to wait for everybody else. But I don't know. Abstinence doesn't work for everybody, but it's the only thing that really works for me. And I have a really, really great life. And I work in treatment. I'm going to school to be a clinical therapist, and now I actually have plans and I have goals, and I'm kind of killing it right now. I'm crushing them, and I'm really proud of myself. And I got my kids back. And actually, I might make it through this without crying. Next Thursday, 1 week from today, I will have both my kids in my house for the first time in 10 years for 5 days. And it's probably the greatest thing in my life, being able to have them trust me enough to come and stay with me and let me show up for them, and they in turn show up for me, and we got to work on those relationships and move forward and build new ones. And if it weren't for recovery, I wouldn't have that. So yeah, I guess that I'll stop there.